You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin.
From aliens to ghosts, demons to angels, and from shadow people to the outlandish, Heidi Hollis is the Outlander.
Welcome, everybody, to my awesome Friday evening. You're listening to me, Heidi Hollis, the Outlander. So get comfortable, everybody. It is a hot, steamy day here in Chicago, let me tell you, because, wow, I am melting. I don't know if you can hear my fan blowing in the background. Air conditioning isn't working so great, so let it be. I want to tell you guys a little bit about this program when it comes to anything outlandish. I don't care what it is. Holy encounters, which are actually my favorite, near-death experiences, Bigfoot, orbs. I always say if it's weird, we're here, and so are you. So you're among friends, everybody. If you do not know who I am, I welcome you to go and check out my main website, which is HeidiHollis.com, HeidiHollis. And I always say I am someone who has been there, seen that, experienced it, freaked out, found some answers, wrote about it, got over it, and now I'm hoping to help others do the same thing and understand this crazy, crazy, crazy world of ours. Just because. I have to tell you, I am working on a project, you guys, that I want to invite you guys to all join me. I am looking to help those of you who are experiencing things out of the ordinary when it comes to anything with disturbances in your sleep, night terrors, nightmares, sleepwalking, sleep paralysis, waking up, seeing odd things. I really, 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 really feel passionate about this project, and it is for a major cable network that is finally, tipping their hat towards this topic, and I'm happy to be helping out to see this thing come to life. So please write me at dustoutlander@gmail.com, D as in David, A-S, Outlander, O-U-T-L-A-N-D-E-R, at gmail.com. And tell me your story, even if it's brief, long, whatever it is. And the goal is to get you help. How about that? I don't care if it's paranormally related or not, or whether you know it or not, or whatever. As long as something is going on, people have witnessed it, or you know it, and we're just going to tackle it and take it on. Oh, look, I'm dropping things. So, yeah. So, please do that. And I want to tell you guys also, be sure, I get a lot of people asking me, because my show was on a hiatus for a bit. I kind of hurt myself. So I have started my show up again, and people are just like, when, where, how can I hear? IRN has an awesome app. Get the app at your app store and enjoy, because, wow, I mean, anything and everything, all the shows are on there, and mine included. I also have a link off my webpage, HeidiHollis.com, and click the radio link, and I have a little description of what each show is about. Point, click, listen. That's it. And I want to hear you also tell you guys that you can hear this show by calling just a simple number, as my parents do, 401-283-6700. I love that. And I also love the fact that you guys can call into this show. I like talking to people. 1-888-919-2355, or just Skype your comments and questions to Inception Radio Network. And I'm always in the chat room. I'm not there the second, but I'm about to get in there. And if you want to ask me a question while I am here doing the show live, Friday Night Live, I will take a look at that. Put it all in caps. It's just so much easier for me to spot those out and go from there. So, yeah. And, there is something that I love to do. And honestly, my most favorite shows to do are when I just take all your calls and your stories and I do the Outlandish Corner. The Outlandish Corner. What is the Outlandish Corner? That is where I essentially take all your stories, your emails, and address them. A lot of people are shy to call in, so people like to write, and then I'll just say, listen for your story, and I'll go over it and give you some honest advice when and if I can figure or muster something in my head that will help. I don't know. So yeah, give me a second. I'm trying to do some here. Is that working? Okay. Yay. All right. So I'm going to get into the chat room here. I'm just dilly-dallying. I got a little bit of bronchitis, so if I choke, God help me. Woo! Oh, okay, I'm breathing. The way this humid weather does not help. All right, so I am going to go to the Outlandish Corner, and I'm going to look through some of these lovely, lovely emails that you guys have sent me. Let's see. No, let's see. No. Okay, that's a big one. All right, okay, I think I've got one. All right, this one says, oh boy, okay, Dear Heidi. Okay, all right, Dear Heidi, my first experience with the Hat Man was when I was 6 years old. I saw him for the first time standing at the end of my bed, staring at me. Funny thing was, I wasn't afraid. I was startled, but not afraid of this guy. Even at the tender age of 6, I had seen and heard my fair share of scary things, and to me this man was not one of them. He brought me comfort. Oh boy, here we go. I could hear him walking up the stairs in our house almost nightly, and I knew he was standing in the hallway. I would get up and open the door and wait for him. I got the distinct feeling that he was there to protect me. The house I grew up in had many entities living there. There was a man in black that lurked around all parts of the house, and there was a woman that liked to turn the water on in all the sinks. Sounds like an active house. I really thought almost all my life that everyone in the house had similar things going on. I lived in the house with my 2 younger brothers and my mom and stepdad. Nothing was ever said about the Hat Man or the man in black until my mom was diagnosed with MS. Oh, that's horrible. And thought she was going crazy because she could see these guys. And then it all came out at our family meeting that all of us saw them, and that wasn't until I was 22 years old. Holy cannoli! That's a long time to be in the dark. So, anyways, where we go? All right. When I was 26 years old and married my husband, I bought a house, and here I was introduced to the not so nice and comforting. Not so nice and comforting? I don't know what that means. The not so nice and comforting. Okay. At first glance and walking through the house, I didn't feel anything that made me feel unsafe. But the longer I lived here, the more the ghosts, shadows, black mists, and entities that talked made their appearance. And it wasn't just inside the house either. There are others outside also. I had my first son when I was 29 years old, and when he was little, he would talk about the lady who liked to sit in the chair in his room at night. Okay. He also told me about the man that would stand in the hallway and just stare at him. He said that I needed to make that bad man leave, and so I consulted a friend of mine who was a medium to come to the house and tell me what I was dealing with. She said there was so much going on here that it was hard to pinpoint what was visiting and what was part of the house. What was visiting and what was part of the house? Oh, then that's your kitchen floor. And here's your kitchen cabinet. Oh, there goes a little ghost. And we're going to skip on over here to the foyer. Oh, okay. That's hilarious. Okay. Oh, hold on. Hold on here. Oh, this is weird. Okay, hold on. Okay. I ended up saying out loud to these beings that they could show themselves to me, but never to my child. And after getting that clear, my son didn't see much of them again, but I did. I saw them, I heard them, I felt them. I wanted to know what was in my house. And of course, as you well know, nothing says the same. Nothing stays the same? Okay, I think you meant stays the same. It either elevates or it fades away. I had my second son when I was 34, and by then I had a pretty good handle on what was lurking in my house. This is the big email, everybody. I thought this was a little one, but it's just going on and on, but that's okay. My husband started changing from a loving man to a raging alcoholic, and the elevation of seeing and hearing dark entities started again. Black mists in the stairways and hallways, black shadows in the corners of the ceilings, creepers, the ones that stand behind you and talk in your ear. Ugh. The Hat Man came back, but this time he was not comforting. Go figure. He was evil. No, I've never heard of such a thing. When my youngest son was 2 years old, he said that he and his brother and I were the light. Huh. What? And we were the light. I like that. And the dark bad men were demons. I asked how he knew this, and he said the angels who visit me at night told him this. I am an open-minded person, so I had no reason to doubt him, even at his young age. I decided that it was time to try to get rid of all this darkness that was plaguing my house and everything around me, so I called my medium friend, and she brought 2 others along with her, and a pastor. They blessed my house and the land, and salted everything, and we prayed, and guess what? The dark ones are still here. I'm not surprised. They have been quiet and not so much chaotic, but they're still here. Over the years, I believe that there is an ongoing war between the darkness and light in 2 different dimensions, and my house just happens to be in the middle of it. It's the only way I can make sense of it. Thank you for taking the time to read my story. I actually feel better just getting it out. LOL. I know I'm not alone in the freaky deaky seeing of otherworldly things, but it sure is nice to share it with someone else who understands. Blessed be, Melissa. Oh, Melissa. Hey, girlfriend. How's it going, girl? It's interesting that what you're sharing here in regards to, you have experienced some odd things since you were a kid, and it didn't spook you out as much in the beginning, and then it did later on. And, sometimes, I do find that when somebody is a kid that they don't always get terrified. Not always. But I think, even adults, a lot of them don't get absolutely terrified. But it does happen. But in your case, what's interesting to me, and I guess this is more of a pattern that I see when it comes to those who don't get freaked out, is the kid, it is the light. Like you're saying, your child said, "Oh, you're the light, and the darkness is the demons. They're trying to stomp out your light." So they didn't want to freak you out and have you go running to mommy and daddy down the hallway, like, this thing is horrible, Instead, it gave you that comforting feeling, like, I'm okay. Look, I have a nice suit on. How are you doing? I'm gonna just creep up your stairs and don't bother. I'm good. You're good. We're all good. So yeah, it's like your defenses are down when you're not as afraid. Fear is a way of surviving, and you didn't feel in danger, you didn't feel at risk, but it obviously watched you all these years. You think that your house is the thing that's at the crossroads between the battle of good and evil, but I think it's you. I think if you picked up and walked away from that house, I think that you would still have these issues going on. So I don't think that it would be, I don't think it'd make any difference. So anyways, I think what is important to know here is that, yeah, this thing, obviously, it's like, here, let's do this. Okay, I want to sing like Janet Jackson's song, "That's the Way Love Goes," like a moth to the fire, burned by the flame. You can't, you have to equal it to being a bug coming to a light. It's attracted to you. It really is. It likes what it sees, and it wants to stomp it out. So I don't know if it wants to put its dirty fly guts and block out the light all on you, but sometimes I have to wonder, because they do that. They do that sort of thing. I don't know what it is. Don't know what it is. Really don't. But they do. But why I said I wasn't surprised when, like, you had this whole team of people that came into your place to bless your house, and the pastor, and they did their holy shenanigans, and I shouldn't call it shenanigans, but they did their thing. Okay, they tried to help. That's awesome, but I am not surprised that it did not work for you. because oftentimes when somebody comes in to stand up for your faith, I mean, it's not going to work. No, because it's kind of your responsibility. I hate to say, because it is. So I think that it's important to know you do not have to put up with it just because, well, gosh, I had like 5 people in here blessing this house and that did not work. You've got to, get your holy ethers in an uproar and you bless that house. Are there such things as holy ethers? I don't know. I'm multitasking, everybody, so don't mind me. So I'm a little scatterbrained here. Beep. Okay. All right. So yeah. So I would say, whatever faith. Well, hold on, you said you had a pastor in there, so I assume that you're Christian. Go through your home and bless it. And you could follow what they did, or you could do something all on your own. It's all up to you, and just take to it. It's interesting that, gosh, Hatman and all those other little demonic little creatures have been working a heck of a long time on you. That is something else. That tells me you're a real bright light. A real bright light. They are so trying to beat their bat wings to cover you up. That's something else. Take it as a compliment. I always do. But I'm a little weirder than the next person. So be disturbed, get angry, and tell them to take a hike. That you're done. You're not going to deal with this crapola anymore because you don't have to. Plain and simple. I think it's plain and simple. I don't know, but that's how I feel about it anyway. So do that, and let me have a look here. I'm going to grab another one. I'm grabbing a random email here, everybody. All right, here we go. Two. Oh, this is oh boy, that's okay. This is really deep. This is deep. I don't know. This one's. Let's hold on. Good point. No. Okay. All right. Well, we'll do this. All right. This is something different because I could just tell from the title of this one that this one's gonna be a big doozy. All right. It says, "Dear Heidi," and hold on a second. Hold on. Boy, I tell you, never multitask when your brain is fried from bronchitis, or just fried in general. Okay. All right. It says, "Dear Heidi, I have some scary things happening to me for a while now. Some back history is my brother killed himself. I had open heart surgery and died. They brought me back. Ever since then, things have been going on. Even before then, I can remember as a child seeing things. Well, what happened to me is I always was trying to fall asleep. Then I had this feeling of being watched, so I'd open my eyes, and there was a dark mass floating above me while I was lying in my bed. I was filled with fear. I have never been so scared in my life. I tried to shout out. I tried to get up and run. I tried to move, and I couldn't. I was yelling, 'Please, please, please, wake me up, wake me up.' The mass came closer and closer to me, and it was my brother. He looked at me, then got right in my face and turned into this nasty, scary, mean old woman. Maybe even a witch. She was just so scary. And she was mocking me, saying, 'Wake up,' and laughing." Oh, okay. Anybody else got chills? "Then she was trying to suck the breath out of me. I thought she was trying to kill me. I thought I was dying. Well, I finally woke up, screaming and crying, scared, so I walked to my kitchen to get some water. I grabbed a cup, go to the sink, then all of a sudden, I'm back in my bed sleeping. So I woke myself up again, scared, wondering what was going on. Go to the kitchen, and then again, I'm back in my bed. That's happened a few more times. Okay, I'd be tired by then. Then the last time I went to walk in the kitchen, and there was this black mass again. I was so scared. I tried to run, then I woke up in my bed again." Whew, okay. When I woke up, for real, I turned to my boyfriend and asked him if I was really awake or if I was just still dreaming. I was crying and scared. He told me it was all just a bad dream and to go back to bed. So a few months passed without it happening. Then one night, I go to bed, try to get some sleep, and all of a sudden, I hear it again. Then this happens. I hear I don't know how to explain this sound. Womp, 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 womp. Louder and louder. I knew it was coming. I couldn't move, scream, yell, nothing for my boyfriend to wake me. I look at the door, and there were 3 black masses standing there, shadows. They jump on me and try to drag me down into the bed, like make me sink, so it's so hard to breathe. It feels like they are trying to take me to hell to kill me and take my soul. Oh my gosh. I'm lashing and trying to fight back and screaming for help, but no one can hear me. I can feel myself lay there and try to even mumble so my boyfriend can wake me up. But when I finally can move, I ask him why didn't he wake me. He says he didn't know. I didn't move, and that he knows because he was sleeping. These things happen more now, and these shadows are trying to take me. I don't know where they are trying to take me, but I know that someday they will kill me and take my soul. I wish I knew how to make them go away. It's so scary sometimes I can't even sleep. There are so many things that they do to me I can't move or even fight them off. Thanks, Jen. Oh, my goodness. I saw this title and saying, this was a shadow people old woman. And hello, everybody. I know you're thinking old hag syndrome, right? What is the old hag syndrome? That is where this ratchet and wretched old lady does exactly what Jen describes here. People feel like this little nasty, creepy thing. And I've heard that she's really short. Like she's got almost stubby legs. She doesn't describe that as being the case here, but I've heard that she's got almost like stumps she's wandering around on, and just very sinister, like all horror movies of witches that you could ever imagine, rolled up into a nasty little disgusting gray-skinned little woman, and that is trying to kill you, and like has the wicked witch laugh and everything. I wonder if like the demons, the powers that be, are like, oh boy, those humans, they have created the perfect creature for us to truly develop here. We have an opportunity to take advantage of. Let's make a really, really nasty old hag that comes to you at night and threatens to throw you into a pot and eat you or something like Hansel and Gretel. I mean, truly, this thing is just like that. It's nasty. It's just a nasty thing. And everything that I've heard in regards to her is just, it's nothing cute. It's nothing sweet. It's nothing like Wizard of Oz cute. Or witchy, cute? No, that's a cute witch. It's just really bizarre. So, and the thing is that's also very concerning when I hear these reports of her is the how can I say, the conversation. It's like the interaction. That's it. The interaction is so immediate. Like she was mocking her. Wake up. It's like she takes a special pleasure in knowing that you feel helpless and mocking. Wow. She knows that you're struggling, and she tends to laugh. I have heard this quite a bit. So wow, Hatman could get a good chuckle in every once in a while too. Tip his hat and like, psh, you got me. But wow, a wicked witch laugh. Good Lord. What worse thing can you throw at a person unless you want to throw in a clown? Really? Ugh, hate clowns. So I don't know. It's just really bizarre. Now, the thing that's really concerning too, though, you're talking about this horrible, horrible, horrible feeling and knowing that this thing is going to get you one day and drag you to hell and take your soul. Jen, I'm when something gets this close to a person, I am really concerned because it's physically draining you, and it's messing with your sense of time. And honestly, you had a near-death experience. And for some reason, those who have had these close calls with death come back with, some people call them gifts. Other people go to hell with that. That's a curse. Who wants to see these things? I don't want to deal with this stuff. So it's just, it's stuff that happens to people, and it's difficult. And, a lot of people, believe it or not, who have had a near-death experience deal with depression. Sounds strange. You think, oh, I got a new lease on life, but some people feel like, wow, nobody wants me, not even heaven. Heaven sent me back. That could be a really crazy feeling in a odd sense. But I'd never thought of that way. But I have heard more and more people talk about that. And now I have personally seen the other side. And I think the sense that hit me the most was, oh, I miss it. I can't wait to get back there. So that's the type of sense that I got. Like, oh, that was just so beautiful. And, oh, this place sucks in comparison. But I surely didn't feel rejected. I felt like, gosh, I have a lot to do yet. So I don't know if you came back with a little bit of depression that made you open, vulnerable to these dark things, or your light shone so freaking bright they threw an old hag at you. She's easy to hurl. She's tiny, I've heard. Oh, boy. So, I mean, honestly, I understand. This is a horrible thing. I think what you need to do, well, okay, I know what you need to do to get rid of this rotten, low-down, good-for-nothing negativity in the form of any nasty little witch or big old tall hat man or whatever it is, I'd love to call it your ethereal foot. You need to put it in their backside. I don't know. One size fits all, usually. A punch, I don't know. But as long as faith is written all over it, it'll work. So clean out your house. They say do a house cleansing. Unless you're Native American, I don't smudge. This stuff called water works great. That's what they use in the church. I'm Christian. That's what I use. But I have heard some people have been successful with that. But bless your home. Bless your home. And I'm going to write you also in particular how you can get some of that done in a good, timely fashion. It doesn't take long to bless your home. And if you want to get some sleep and have some peace and quiet, I mean, honestly, I would have never, ever been able to sleep ever again with some of the things that I have dealt with. I can't even tell you. The things that just, and they love to come when your guard is down, when you're really trying to, recharge your soul. What a thought. Recharge your soul. Why do we need sleep? Well, sure, our bodies get tired, but I mean, it's like a reboot. Like your soul needs to go and be someplace else for a little bit too, and come right back. And these things are trying to interject, which is sucky. So we're not going to let that happen anymore. So I suggest to bless your house, do it yourself. Don't have a whole army of people come over there to do it either. Those who live with you can join in. That makes it more powerful because then everybody's responsible for, make sure the house is safe. So a lot of people just, I don't know. A lot of people try to pawn it off to the next person sometimes with these blessings, which is interesting to me. Everybody could be experiencing like a haunting or something dark going on, and it's like, well, you need to bless your home. Well, I ain't going to do it. Here, I'll pass it on to the wife. It's like, hold on. The wife is going to be probably a little bit more protected than you are. Kids, of course, under the protection of a parent. That's cool. But when you're like an equal and adult in the house and you're passing the buck to be like, psh, you take care of this. No, put your blessings both together in combo to cover the household. What a thought. Put it together and do that. So, and I'm going to write you also here, Jen, and try to give you some more tips in regards to that. So anyways, I hope that was helpful to you guys. And my goodness, I swear, there's so many emails. I have such a backlog I have to get through. Everybody's been writing. It's been fun. And I really appreciate it. So anybody that's been dealing with anything out of the ordinary and night terror, sleep paralysis, I'm working on a project. We're trying to get to come to life here. Write me at dustoutlander@gmail.com. And we're gonna have a really interesting guest this evening. We're gonna have Mary Joyce join us. So you guys keep on listening. You're listening to me, Heidi Hollis, the Outlander on Inception Radio Network, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to me, Heidi Hollis, the Outlander. Remembering always, if it's weird, we're here, and we're giving you advice and insight on outlandish topics. Phone lines are always open, but I do realize that most of you guys listen to us through the app, which is cool. So it's fine. I understand, on demand. So I wanted to introduce you guys to my fantastic guest for the evening, Mary A. Joyce, who has worked for 2 major metropolitan area newspapers as a writer, columnist, artist, Sunday magazine editor, and feature editor. On the side, she's written magazine articles and 5 other books. Currently, she is editor of the Sky Ships Over Cashiers website, which features cutting-edge topics. Her career includes working for a Fortune 100 company, coordinating art and printing for talking children's books. In that capacity, she worked directly with many creative teams, including those at Marvel Comics, hello, Golden Books, Mr. Rogers, who doesn't love Mr. Rogers, Berenstain Bears, Steven Spielberg's E.T. book staff. She's also worked for the world's largest printing company, a major metropolitan air pollution control agency, a community college, and political campaigns. Everybody, round of applause for Mary A. Joyce. Woo! They are going mental, Mary. I cannot believe I'm talking to you. You have quite the background.
Thank you. That was a nice introduction. I appreciate it.
Yeah, my God, I'm just tickled. I mean, I was just saying, just before we came on here, I'm like, I've got the background in cartooning. All I ever wanted to do growing up was be a comic strip artist. That was my whole goal in life. And I got to do it for 12 college newspapers. And while I was in college, I had the opportunity to get syndicated, let's put it that way. And I made the cut, was going to happen. Distributors failed me. I was in college. I was going to be an occupational therapist, which I am now. And I was just so busy when, things fell through. And somehow I wrote my first book in college and just stayed writing and gave up my cartooning. And now I'm back to it. And now I'm going like mental with it. I love visual arts. So I'm just floored. And of course I love the, language, communication stuff too. So your background, my goodness, how does a person do all that you've done?
That takes a bunch of years. You pile them up. Since you're interested in cartooning, when I worked at the Orlando Sentinel, I worked in the cartooning department. And the one name that you would probably know would be Wagner, who took over Grin and Bear It, which is one of the old classic ones. And he had to learn the style of the original cartoonist in order to continue that strip. And being with cartoonists on a regular basis was kind of fun because their humor was always just a little bit quirky.
Oh gosh, yes. I mean, you have to look at the world through such a different, colored glass. But I don't know. I guess I think in cartoons. That's just how I live. I don't know.
Well, combine the writing with the cartoons. That's a great idea.
I've actually done that already. I have a couple of books I'm trying to get out there.
Very good.
On the topic of faith. They're both called The Other F Word. One of them is out for the kids. But self-published it because, it's something about writing about the paranormal and then trying to reach into a genre of something like faith, God, and if you don't speak from a pulpit, these publishers really shun you. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put this out there, and I'm just going to do it. You got to follow your passion, right?
Some of the most interesting books are being self-published today. And there's, it's just much easier to do than it used to be. Oh, yeah, for sure. And, it's been an interesting journey. But I want to get onto your journey. My goodness, you you cover so many different topics. Tell us what drives you to do what you're doing today, right now? Simple curiosity. With the newspaper background, I always like to dig into things and find out where the truth is, and curiosity always gets me started. So that's in a real simple answer.
A lot of people, now that's cool. That's very cool. A lot of people come from, I experienced something out of the ordinary. Did you have something that sparked your interest from a personal perspective like that?
You're talking about something like dropping out of the clouds? Not really. I've seen UFOs from a distance, but nothing as dramatic as people who've seen them land right in front of them. But it's interesting to talk to the people who've had those kind of experiences. And as a writer, as a journalist, you don't always want to be talking about yourself. You'd rather be asking the questions and getting other people's stories out.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so what's fascinating to me, it's like, I don't know, it's like you have like such polar opposite seeming topics with the underground bases and the Cherokee Little People. So I'm like, where to dive? Where to dive? That's too much.
Well, we can start with the website. Since 2008, I've been the editor of skyships.overcachers.com. It started out because we had so many and still continue to have so many UFO sightings in and around Cashers, North Carolina. Now, where I'm located right now is in the mountains of western North Carolina. And Cashers is a town at the top of one of these mountains. It's one of those places where the flatlanders come in when the weather gets too hot. And a beautiful place, lots of waterfalls, lots of scenery, and lots of mysterious activity.
Oh, very interesting.
But because of that website, people began to contact me, and eventually whistleblowers began to reach out to us at the website because they had information. They felt people had a right to know and needed to know, and we had apparently proved ourselves to be credible, so they chose to open up with us. And we've done our best to protect them and the best we can do to present what they think the world needs to know about. So that's how I began to learn about, let's say, the underground bases. And where we are right here, there are 5 that we have learned about, and they're all under major tourist attractions. There's one under the Smoky Mountains National Park, one under Mount Mitchell, which is the tallest mountain east of the Mississippi, one in the Linville Gorge, one on the Blue Ridge Parkway near Devil's Courthouse, which is a well-known rock formation, and one near or underneath Sugarloaf Mountain, which is near Chimney Rock State Park. So I find it very interesting that every single one of those is close to some kind of a park of some sort or a tourist attraction.
Huh. And they're all under mountains.
Yeah, everything here is mountains.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I was talking to you briefly. I'd had a couple of run-ins with underground bases, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But one of them was under a mountain as well, so it's just that I know for sure. The first one I'm not so certain, but what do you think? Okay, so the people came forward and they felt like it was important that they needed to reach out, and so somebody knew. So what were some of the first things that people were expressing concern about that reached out?
Of the 5 places that we have learned about, the one that I find the most concerning is near the Devil's Courthouse off the Blue Ridge Parkway. But beneath that and to the west of that is a place called the Perry Center. It's an acronym. It stands for the Pisgah Astronomical Research Institute, so it's just known as Perry. And during the Cold War, it was a satellite monitoring station. After the Cold War, they supposedly closed it down, and today, again, supposedly it is an astronomical research place where students can come, and but everything that we've learned, that's just a cover. And one of our most credible witnesses, who has high security clearance, in fact 2 that have the high security backgrounds, have said that that is a city-sized facility that's 6 stories deep. It's totally self-sufficient with water and electricity and everything that you need. And the reason I say it's one that concerns me the most is that the first witness who told us about the place talked about they had the power there to erase human memories, that human experiments were going on there. I find those kind of things rather unsettling. One of the men told me that when he was a young man, he worked for a brief time at a Christmas tree farm not far from this facility, and the people there had seen animals in cages being taken into this facility, which gives support to the idea that experimentation may indeed be going on. And then one day, when at a place where I was working at the time, there was a Rubicon Jeep that came up and parked real close to my front door, and it had tags for, I don't have the right words right now, but it was the psychological division out of Colorado. And it's not easy to get to Perry, and yet I saw it take off in that direction. So all the pieces begin to fall together, and you have to wonder, exactly what's going on there. Plus, we see a lot of UFOs around that facility.
Okay, and do you think those UFOs are more related to alien or our own crafts?
In this area, I think we have both, but many of us are very suspicious that there is a working relationship with some aspect of our military and some aspect of the ET world. I suspect that the ones involved are not necessarily the ones you want to team up with.
And that seems to be a common theme. For some reason, a lot of people think, if they come from outer space, I mean, they must have, good intentions because they're smarter than us. I'm like...
We have the good, the bad, and the ugly up there and down here, too.
Thank you. Yes, that's how I feel, honestly, because, my gosh, not everybody is made of sugar and spice.
For sure.
But, so the people that were coming forward, they're saying experimentation's going on. But the purpose, so they're wiping memories. What's the purpose of wanting to wipe the memory of a human being? What seems to be the goal of the actions going on underground there?
Now, I can tell you what people have observed, around these places. I cannot get into these people's heads. I don't know for certain what they're doing. One of the former Air Force officers who was also curious about this place was keeping tabs on it for at least a while. And he said, sometimes you can, drive right into this facility. He said at another time or two he has seen guards in SWAT-type outfits at the gate. Sometimes you can get into Perry very easily, sometimes you can't. It seems to be more like by invitation or on certain days.
That's interesting. So, have any of the people actually seen other beings?
I'm trying to think of the people that I've talked to. The closest I would have would people who've seen apparitions, which may very well have been holograms. Again, it seems to branch off into a whole total different direction. One of the women who lives at the top of the mountain in Cashers was seeing lots of UFOs to the point where she kind of became blasé about them. And one day she was stretched out on her, I think it was her couch, where she could look up at the sky, and she saw a UFO way off in the distance and didn't think much of it. And then suddenly there was a beam of light that went from that UFO all the way down and hit the parking area in front of her home. And then she heard this big bang on the side of her house, and it startled her. She said she froze for a second. And then when she turned her head, she saw this giant hologram apparition of Jesus. And she said it was about 35 feet tall.
Wow.
She knew the height of it because she knew the height of her house. And it lasted for about 20 minutes. She said, and she described him rather vividly, said his hair was more of a lighter tint, and it flowed in. She said it looked like fresh, washed, dried hair that just gently went in the breeze. But what I found the most interesting of her description was that he had a thong necklace on, or with a little pouch on it. And in any depiction I've seen of Jesus, I have never seen one with a pouch around his neck. And yet they did not seem to be too good at pockets at that time, and they needed money. Maybe that's the way they carried it. But as far as seeing little gray aliens and things around here, I've had one woman who was involved in one of our major Bigfoot stories who said she saw this little white alien dude. But the description didn't quite match Gray's. It was a little bit more a cross between a Gray and maybe Casper the Friendly Ghost.
That's interesting because I know these tall whites that you're speaking of, and for some reason, I don't know. I've heard more positive things about those ones.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, I've never heard anyone described as a tall, as a Pleiadian or a Nordic with the light features. They always seem to be positive.
Oh, I have heard of some Nordics being negative, but like these tall, white, like thin alien types. I saw one once. I don't even know. I don't even know how to say, but
Are you talking about the kind like I can only think of his last name, Hall, out in Nevada? Or are you not familiar with him?
oh, that sounds familiar, but I'm not.
It's not coming to the top of your head.
Yeah. You know, I personally had like I've had so many odd experiences, and I'd seen a tall white alien once that was like a flash in like old robes, like in the biblical times, that was actually preaching. It was really bizarre. I don't know what to think of it, but you know, so that's fascinating about this projection of Jesus. Now you've got this other book, Tangible Evidence of Jesus Left Behind for us to find. What is your take in you know this lady you know sharing this experience? I mean, it's kind of different.
First of all, I'll get in the book in a second, but I found it interesting that the woman's mother raised her Jewish, so she wasn't somebody who would be naturally concocting images of Jesus just
Right.
because, you know. So I found that made her story more credible. Even though I have dealt very journalistically with you know, two of the books I've done, the Cherokee Little People Were Real and the one about the underground bases, the Jesus book happened in a very, very different way. It was not a book I intended to write, but I was awakened in the early morning hours in the fall of 2013, and Jesus appeared and asked me to write this book. And he wanted it done in a month's time, which just made me choke. But I had, out of my own curiosity, done an awful lot of the research without knowing it. And I just basically focused totally on that for a month and got it done. And the purpose, he said, was that he said people are so busy that they will not take time to read, you know, thick books. And he had information he wanted more people to have, and he wanted it in a form that was easy to digest. And he wanted lots of images to go with it also. So the book really has a magazine-type style. There's lots of photos, illustrations, maps. So it's I call it an adult picture book. But he had information he wanted out there to give a more complete idea of what he was like.
That so sounds like him. As you know, you read my book.
I mentioned
no joke.
Yeah, I read that right after you extended the invitation to be on your show, and I was looking at the books that you had written, and I chose that one because of my own experiences.
Yeah.
And you did a good job. It should help a lot of people.
Oh, gee, thanks. But he's got a sense of humor. And
he does. He does, but it's not. It's not a ha-ha type of humor.
No. It's not. But when the man asks you to do something, it's just something that's like, I better get this done.
And I did get it done, by the way. It was a month to the day that I got it done.
Well, he came to the right person.
Well, the newspaper background helps because you're used to working under deadline. So, you know, you got a deadline, you got to meet it.
That's true. But you know what? I got goosebumps when you said it's like an adult picture book. I'm doing well. It's complete. It's the other F word. It's a book. It's an adult picture book that I have complete. that's I cartooned and whatnot to help people get a different level to their faith. You know, because I felt pushed by him. To get this done, and I'm like, okay, everybody, here it is. And you know, publishers are being odd, so I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna do it on my own. And he wants it out there. I'm not gonna argue with him.
And once you agree to do it, it flows very smoothly.
Oh gosh, yeah. It's been done for a little bit, actually, and I'm like, you know what? I really, really, really just have to put it out and just, do what's needed because. So I mean, I'm just saying I could totally relate to where you're coming from, and I just love that he put that fire in you. That's awesome. It's great. It's great to hear. So I mean, okay, hold on. So 2013, he comes in, just strolls on in, and it's like, "Hey, how's it going there, Mary? What did he look like? What did he do? I mean, what was the feeling? I just love hearing these stories."
Well, like it was the early morning hours. I had just awakened it was still dark out, and I don't know, it wasn't anything startling. It was just like, here he was, and here's what we need to do, and it was really that simple.
Wow. I mean, did he look stereotypical to you? Did he have flowing robes and?
He is more light featured than many people think of. He has, instead of quoting me, let me quote somebody else. There in that book, I have a letter that was written by Pontius Pilate to Caesar, and at that time, Jesus was causing quite a bit of attention, and Caesar's off in a different part of the world, and he wanted to know about this person. So Pontius Pilate wrote this letter, and it is in the Congressional Library of Records, and he describes Jesus as being lighter featured than those around him, and being he saw him talking to a group of people and described him just leaning against a tree, very relaxed, and had the audience captivated. Pontius Pilate left his secretary behind to listen to, the entire presentation, I would guess. But the people really liked him, and Pontius Pilate didn't see him as an enemy of the Romans. He said it was the more elite of the Jewish people that had a problem with him, because the humble Jews or the regular people responded very well to him. But he had the lighter eyes, and then that same kind of description comes up when you read the legends that predate the arrival of the white man in the Western Hemisphere. And the different tribes who didn't have direct connection with each other all describe Jesus as having the lighter eyes that would change like the ocean, and that he had copper tints in his hair if the sun hit it. And many of the stories that are in the New Testament are told in a different form in these ancient legends. For example, the little lost lamb becomes the little lost llama. And this research was done by a person by the last name of Taylor, who spent 25 years researching this with the different tribes throughout the Western Hemisphere.
Wow, that is amazing. My goodness. Well, I want everybody to check out that book, because that's one that I've got to read personally. I have been so absolutely crazy. I want to read all your books. Tangible evidence of Jesus left behind for us to find. You guys, we're going to take our next break here. You're listening to me, Heidi Hollis, The Outlander, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to me, Heidi Hollis, The Outlander. Remembering always, if it's weird, we're here, and we're giving you advice and insight on outlandish topics. Phone lines are always open, 1-888-919-2355. But I know most of you guys listen to the app, which is very, very cool. Perfectly fine by me. It's all good. I've got Mary Joyce here, and holy cannoli, she's my people way beyond anything that you can imagine. The things that us girls are talking about during the break, you would just be floored. I mean, this is so very cool. So Mary Joyce is talking about Jesus encounters that she's had, talking about underground bases, talking about how she almost became an OT like myself. And it's just so, I mean, my goodness. And talking about Cherokee Little People, we're gonna get into that next. So your website, Skyships Over Cashiers, I want everybody.com to go check that out. And her books, Underground Military Bases Hidden in North Carolina Mountains, Cherokee Little People, War Real, and Tangible Evidence of Jesus Left Behind for Us to Find. Fantastic titles there that draws your attention. That comes with a lot of experience.
Excuse me, all those books are available on Amazon. And some people like to support the independent bookstores, and if people can also get the book through citylightsnc.com. And City Lights is the local bookstore here, and they will ship out any place just like Amazon will. So it's citylightsnc.com if you want to support the independent bookstores.
That sounds fantastic. So, my goodness. All right, so let's tiptoe on over into the Cherokee Little People. I am...
Wait. Before we do, can I just add one more thing, because it's like a cause that I have. When I first moved to Western North Carolina in 1998, I began to hear these stories about foreign military troops in the forest around here. And they talked about Germans and Russians and United Nations doing practices. And the question always was, how can they do that? How can that be allowed? And after one of the whistleblowers told me about the UN having a major facility under Mount Mitchell, I really began to try to get to the bottom of it. And there is a treaty that our country signed in 1972 called the World Heritage Treaty. And we as a country turned over the rights to some of our national parks and forests. And so it's no longer under our control, even though our taxes pay for it. And I think this is probably something that shouldn't exist. I think it is a treaty that we ought to get out of. And I just wanted to throw that out to people, because there might be somebody out there who has the wherewithal to maybe begin to make that a cause. Anyhow, there's my pitch. Gotcha. Now we can go to Little People.
Do little people live in underground bases? I'm just kidding.
As far as I know, they don't.
Oh, darn. Okay. Well, you know
but
what?
They do live, I don't know. They do live underground.
They do?
The reason I got into that book was a man who was well respected in the community I live in, was very elderly at the time, and well respected. He was a World War II hero. He was a pastor for over 40 years. People just respected him. And I'd had many conversations with him, and one day the subject of the little people came up, and I'd never paid much attention to the whole idea. And he said, no, they were real. And he said after World War II, he was involved with a construction crew at Western Carolina University, which is here in Western North Carolina. And when they would dig into land that supposedly was virgin land, they would find these little tunnels cut out of red solid clay. And they were square cut with a round top, typically about 3.5, maybe 4 feet tall. And they, as time went on, these different construction people would find these tunnels in many places on that campus. They also found little skeletons, and one of the stories that stands out in my mind was that there was a child-sized skull sitting on the desk of one of the science teachers, kind of like a decorative paperweight. And he just said it was, a child's skull from a mound in the area. One of the teachers came up and picked it up and looked at it more closely and said, no, this skull has all its wisdom teeth.
That's mind-blowing.
Are you still there?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. All righty.
That's all
so
good.
There's many, many stories about the little people. When I wrote the book, I didn't think that any of them were still existing, but after the book came out and after more of the Cherokee people began to talk to me, they assured me that in the remote parts of the Cherokee community, they say the little people still exist. Some of the people will put food out for them occasionally at night, and if they don't, they say the little people will throw pebbles on the roof as if to remind them to, put out the snack. So they may very well still exist.
So get this, okay, talking about the little pebbles. This is fascinating. I don't know if you know of the spook lights of Joplin, Missouri, where you go to this road and like these weird lights show up down this road, and they seem to come out of nowhere and whatnot. And I had a friend that took me down there, and we were in a hotel. We got up at 3 a.m. so we could see what we could see to go down this little gravel road for the Joplin spook lights. And as we're driving along, she's like, "Oh, by the way, there are said to be little people that live along the path here, and they might throw pebbles at the car or at anybody." And I heard a couple of tinks on the car, and I was just like, no way, that just didn't happen. That wasn't the major thing that really blew my mind, because we're standing on the road, on this little gravel road, myself and probably about 5 other friends, and we're with our flashlights, and we're waiting for spook lights to show up, and we hear a couple of pebbles that hit the road. I mean, we heard it, and I'm like, this is so weird. And I'm like further down the road than everybody else, because I'm just bold like that, And so I'm just like do looking around, and I heard 2 steps in front of me. I mean, like little steps, and I'm like, with my flashlight, I'm like, because you could hear it on this. It was finely grained gravel on this road, and I'm like, put my flashlight, don't see anything. I'm like, I hear 2 more steps, and I'm like, whoa, something's right in front of me, but I couldn't see it. And I'm flashing my light, and tink, 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 and then it's coming towards me. And I mean, it starts running towards me. And I'm like, I'm backing up. I'm with my flashlight. I'm like, I don't see this. And my friends are like, what's going on? I'm like, something's coming. And they're all boom, with their flashlights. We don't see anything. And I mean, I finally turn around and do a full-on run to the car, jump in, tuck, roll, slam the door. And this thing followed me all the way to the car. But I couldn't see it. And the strangest thing, though, the thing that came to my head and to the others that heard the footsteps, they were so pointed, these little steps, that we thought of hooves, tiny hooves, like Pan, So, but this was the place that, little people are said to be. And I don't know, have you heard of regular everyday people that have seen, and there's even some videos on YouTube that have seen little people like gnomes almost walking by, getting caught on video. But of course, how do you know if it's for real or not? But I mean, I've heard stories, and I had an experience that was a little out of the ordinary. So I'm just curious, have you got any side stories like that have been sent your way?
The book itself focused on flesh and blood little people. I hear stories about the fairies and the little tiny creatures. They're told with great conviction that people have actually seen them. But I chose in this book to deal with something where there is actual concrete evidence that these little people actually existed. It's a little harder to prove that with the little fairies.
Yes. Okay. So, all right. So the native Cherokee, what is the story behind? I mean, so there's just generations of them, but what's the story behind them living underground and separate like that?
Okay, the Cherokee originally were from the Great Lakes region, and they moved to the mountains at some point. When they got here, they saw well-tended gardens, but they didn't see any people. Eventually, they saw these little people come out from the ground and tend the gardens at night by the light of the moon. So the Cherokee originally called them the Moon People, and they were here before the Cherokee were here. And in this same area of western North Carolina, there is a mysterious rock called jocular rock. It's about 20 by 15 feet in size, has glyphs or something all over it that nobody has been able to decipher. Some people speculate that rock may have been carved by the little people since it was here before the Cherokee, and nobody can make sense of it. But to add to our many, many mysteries in this area, Jocular was a legendary giant among the Cherokee. And in the same area where this rock is, that's called Jocular Rock, I have interviewed people who have seen Bigfoot. So my own working theory is that Bigfoot inspired the Judaculla rock legends. Now, I have no way of proving that, but the fact that they're so close in the same area, you have to wonder.
Ah, my goodness. Okay. So, now
by the way, wait. I got one more thing to tell you.
Yeah.
We have something that we're looking forward to getting the results on. We had a story that your listeners might want to read on the Skyships Over Cashiers website, and it's called Valley of the Bigfoot and the Little Alien Dude. And it's a very involved story. We got a very good sample of what we believe to be Bigfoot hair. That story includes a photo of that, I'll call it a locket of hair. And it was so convincing that we were contacted by somebody in California who was willing to put up the money to have it DNA tested because he thought it looked that authentic. So we're waiting to see what kind of results we get. But it's a really interesting story. Like I said, probably too involved to tell tonight. But but it's interesting, so I will touch it just a little bit. These people live in a valley that's totally surrounded by ridges or mountains, and it's not easy to access. But when you get down to the end of this narrow road, which is wedged between two ridges, this valley opens up, and there's 2 houses there and a horse barn. And these people had a pond there with a dam, and it needed to be repaired. And when they were out there with jackhammers, pounding away, they suddenly hit something that was open or hollow. And after that, they began to have Bigfoot episodes. They suspect that they may have busted into a cave that the Bigfoot were living in, and it didn't at all please them. And part of that guesswork is that there are other caves in the ridges surrounding this little valley. And after that, the Bigfoot began, eventually breaking into the house. The people no longer live there, but they check on it on an almost daily basis. And there's Bigfoot prints and all over the place, and there are we have pictures of the drawings or the writing that they have attempted to do on the walls in the house. It looks like maybe juvenile Bigfoot have done some of that, but you can see it evolve from scribbles.
Punks. I'm just kidding.
No, right. Bad teenagers.
Yes.
But it's evolved from scribbles with a felt tip to stuff that looks like attempts at drawing and writing. And so if anybody's interested, on the home page of the Skyships website, on the right-hand side, we have the 25 most recent postings, and you can scroll down there and find the title. And again, it's called Valley of the Bigfoot and the Little Alien Dude.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to check that out. That sounds fascinating. You know, what's really interesting, so you're talking about the little people, talking about Bigfoot, and both of them are known for hurling rocks, because
That's
Bigfoot,
true.
They will throw boulders. I had one hurled at me once, and I couldn't believe it. But the little stones, I mean, I guess, what's handy. I mean, you just throw it at them. It's like, goodness. They wouldn't like if we threw, our books at them or something. I don't know. But it's interesting because it's like I haven't heard of anybody being really pelted badly by these attacks. I never hear stories about either of those species actually hurting people. No, yeah, I haven't either. That's really wild. But so, my goodness. Okay, so these Cherokee little people, they were real, and for the most part, though, they have gone so far underground that only the Native Americans are aware of their presence. I mean, I
don't think there's that many left. I think at one time there must have been a whole lot more in this area, but there are some that apparently the Cherokees say still exist here.
What was interesting to me when you said that, they were found tending to gardens. One of my former really good friends that I knew some time ago, she was down in Sedona, was exiting her motel room, and and there was a little person like tending to this plant outside, and she just froze. It's just
Wow.
it's just like, and she walked really slow, got her friend and said, "Look out the window," and they both saw this perfectly proportioned little person, like tending to the plants, and just
Wow.
kind of, bent down, and then just never rose back up again. She's like, "I saw this little person." I'm like, wow. So it's really interesting.
Do you know how big or how tall the little person was?
I
Did
want
they
to
say?
I want to say it was a couple of feet.
Yeah, that's about what I hear here.
Yeah, so that was just mind blowing. But she was just blown away, and how it, when it dipped down and she couldn't see it anymore, and she like took a couple steps out to see where it went, and it was gone. It's like, where'd it go?
Well, the whole topic of the little people in this area gets a little bit complicated because I've gotten 3 different descriptions. The first one that I mentioned with the gardens, they were described as having blue-tinted skin and large eyes. And, of course, any creature that's living underground is going to probably have large eyes. There's also a description of little people, which is the most common, and they simply look like a smaller version of the Cherokee people. There's a third version, and they are described as having red whiskers and looking much more like a leprechaun. One of the old-timers that was in the book had found a little medallion that has a face on each side of it that looks like a leprechaun. In fact, in the book, I have a leprechaun's profile next to this medallion. And he found that back in 1940 when there was a very historic flood here and tons of topsoil or land was washed away. And that's when this showed up. And he's still living today. And he says he calls it his lead head. To tie it even more in another way, a number of moonshiners back in the 1930s were building their still way at the top of one of the mountains, and of course they didn't want to be discovered. But when they were preparing their still site, they came across a pile of little bones, or little people bones. They didn't tell anybody about it during the Prohibition because they didn't want their site revealed. But the Cherokee, this ties together with something else, because the Cherokee at that time did not like the little people with the red whiskers, and they would try to kill them. So here's a pile of these little people bones, and you combine that with the story of them not liking the ones with the red whiskers and the little medallion, and you go, this is very multifaceted.
The Fighting Irish, maybe they had a bad temper.
Could be.
Goodness, so that's interesting. So, wow, I wonder what their tiff was. What was going on with that?
That I can't answer.
That is fascinating. I've been hearing these scattered little stories and findings, even over in Ireland somewhere, of somebody found a little cave with little furniture down it, and it's like, why is this here? Is it a practical joke? It's just I wish that people could be true to their findings and be upfront and direct, because I just think there's so much to be found and unearthed out there. But with so many potential falsehoods, I mean, people just question everything. I'm like, I think one of the most powerful things is taking our neighbor's word for something. If you know the person that's reporting, or somebody, it's just trying to have that backing and be able to stand strong and in their convictions and what it is that they're witnessing and what they're bringing forward. I think that's a powerful thing, and I think that we need to get back to that, because there's so much that may be overlooked. And what do we do? What do we do about that? What do you suggest?
Well, when I've interviewed, I think about 5 or 6 different people who've had experiences with Bigfoot, and every single one of them has wanted to protect the Bigfoot. They don't want the public to know exactly where they're where they are, because they don't want them to be bothered. They don't want the local Bigfoot hunters to come out and find them. And one of the guys that I interviewed, he said referring to one of the shows that hunts down the Bigfoot. He said, now how would you like it if somebody pulled up in your yard and started blasting loud rock music from their car and flashing their lights? He said, you'd be throwing rocks too. And he was referring to the way that they're out there blasting Bigfoot calls and, doing all this kind of stuff, trying to capture a Bigfoot. And as much as I would like the truth of the Bigfoot to come out, I don't like the way it's being done, and I don't think that we should put the Bigfoot or the little people in jeopardy. So that's part of the reason that people don't totally come forward with all the information in a public way.
Yeah, that makes sense. I wanted to touch quickly upon a topic with the underground bases, because I mentioned briefly that I'd had, I don't know, I was grabbed. I lived alone. I woke up in an underground facility being questioned by military personnel, being asked, where are they? You got to help us find them. And I knew what they were speaking of, being alien beings, and seeing that was one of the occasions, and then having another encounter where, I was kind of rendered like a puppet walking through a facility, and there being a line of other people in their pajamas, and I was wide awake, and all I had control over were my eyes. And I was probably standing there for a good couple hours or more, and I'm like, this is happening. I am here. Holy smokes. Why do they have me here? And watching guys in full camouflage, rifles, pacing back and forth. And I tell you, I smacked one of them and everything. It was a great thrill. So when you hear of these underground bases and to talk about the experiments and their ability to be able to wipe a person's memory, like, I don't know how I got there. I don't know how I got back. I know I was there. I know that it happened. I know that I had one that happened someplace else that was in a mountain range, and it was invasive. Out of anything and everything that I've ever had happen or experienced, nothing has made me more angry than having our own so-called people who are here to protect us betray us. So I think that should get a lot of people in an uproar. And taking another person's word for having experienced some of these horrible things, if one person gets abducted, that's one person too many, and people get ticked when they hear about it. But then you say something so far-fetched, it's just not quite believed. But I wanted you to get the opportunity.
You're not the only one who's reported that there are military people involved with aliens with some of these abductions, and they have seen both at the same time.
Oh, yes.
Do you, in your own mind, do you have any idea why you were picked out?
I do. I wish I could get into it, but we have less than a minute, and I want you to have the chance to tell people how they could get a hold of you.
Okay. The website is skyshipsovercachers.com. The books are all available on Amazon. One is called Cherokee Little People Were Real. One is Underground Military Bases Hidden in North Carolina Mountains. And one is Tangible Evidence of Jesus Left Behind for Us to Find. All of them are written in a magazine-type style where there's lots of photos or pictures or maps along with the writing, and it's all in easy-to-read, condensed form so that anybody can read it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mary Joyce. This was an absolute blast. I definitely have to have you come back because we have so much more to cover. My goodness, everybody. This went quick. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Remember, night terrors, anything of this sort, please have people write me at dustoutlander@gmail.com. Remember, you can catch me here every Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. You've been listening to me, Heidi Hollis, The Outlander on Inception Radio Network. Remembering, always if it's weird, we're here.